Hi and welcome to this tutorial number 7 of the Air-to-Air GCICAP module. In this module I'm going to explain you what the disengage radius is all about. Just a short context. Disengage radius is basically a mechanism put in place in the Air-to-Air GCICAP module that prevents attacking airplanes or defending airplanes that are engaged with a target to disengage with that target when the defender is too far from its home airbase. And you can set the maximum radius or range from the home airbase yourself. The default setting in the module is around 100 kilometers, but you could easily set that to 200 or 300 kilometers. It really depends upon your mission design preferences. There has been another request from Invisible, the guy on the forum as well. We talk a lot on the Moose community, by the way, about requirements, and we register them on the GitHub issue list or requirement list. And here we're also talking about, would it make sense to disengage when a plane would cross the border? And I'm still thinking about it. I don't think it makes a lot of sense for mission designers, but this could also be an option to build in, so that instead of a radius, when the defending plane would cross the border, its own border, then the disengagement would happen as well. Which may, I think, doesn't make sense because it may result in very strange attack scenarios, especially when there are players around. They may notice where the border is and then start flying off. The plane disengages and then attack it again. That shouldn't be happening like this. So therefore I've put this system in place. I think it's much more dynamic and less discoverable what the parameters are, etc. So let me get into a short demonstration on how this works in a real mission. So I got here this mission scenario. I got 2 air bases, actually 2 squadrons set up at 2 red air bases, Sochi and Gelendzhik. And I'll show you the script in a minute. And I got this blue F-18, it's a fast plane, and it's flying this direction and then it's moving away from the enemy, right? So when that blue plane gets detected by the EWR network, then you will see an intercept point calculation, by the way, as active. So you will see that the shortest distance of the intercept point after around 300 seconds or 450 seconds, I think I have defined in the script, then that would mean that the shortest path to the intercept point would be from Gelendzhik. So that means that, so that the plane would spawn from here and will start attacking the blue plane. Now the blue plane is then, by the way, following its path over here, and it's flying faster than the plane that will be spawned here, which is an Su-27. So then I have defined by default a disengagement range of 100 kilometers, and then once the 100 kilometer range has been reached, the plane will fly back home. Very funny, you will see, is that the blue plane, once it reaches point number 2, it will start flying to the nearest base, which is a blue air base. I think it's going to be Gudauta, where it's going to fly to, and then you will see the EWR network. It will notice it's getting back into the border area, and a plane at Sochi Adler will be spawned. So let's have a look how this is working. Right, so here's the mission that I explained you. That blue plane is going to fly this path here, and Sochi is here and Gelendzhik is there. I'm going to speed up a bit until we see something spawning. Right, so that is from Gelendzhik that the spawn is happening. Remember, cold engines, so you don't see them running, I think. No, it's dark, doesn't matter. So that plane will start taxiing to the runway. It's a small airfield, but larger airfields, as you know, take much more time, and you need to be a little bit creative to measure these times yourself. So that one is taking off. Let me have a look back at the tactical situation where we are. Right, that blue plane is still flying there. So, and this one is going to attack the blue plane. Right, it's fully loaded with weapons. Okay. So now you should see, I'm going to activate, this is something that I haven't really mentioned. This is the tactical overview panel, which gives you the detected areas and which airplane is actually attacking or defending. It's the Su-27-001, it's a GCI, it's engaging. There's one airplane airborne and it's executing its mission. So let me measure this a bit. Right, so it's going to be, yeah, now we are beyond 150 kilometers. So now you can see the tactical panel that the Su-25 has engaged and disengaged, excuse me, the target and is flying home. There is no target anymore. There's still a target area for pilot 008, but that won't be engaged anymore because that one is outside of the border. Right, so this one now is flying back. Let me show you. Right, so these are flying back, and now, very interestingly, this one has crossed the border again, and a plane starting cold from Sochi Adler, right, has spawned. Right, and that will now engage with the F-18 while this one here is flying home. Okay, so when we go very quickly to the documentation, so I'm going to the main site, flight control master github.io, moves, yeah, it's also everywhere documented, this page, and I'm going to the AI air-to-air dispatcher. Then in the documentation, so this is chapter 4, chapter 5, chapter 6 is about squadrons, chapter 7 is going to be about cap setup, chapter 8 is about GCI, chapter 9 is other configuration options, and then chapter 10 is about default settings. And there you got defaults for takeoff, landing, overhead, grouping, return to base fuel threshold, return to base damage threshold, default settings for cap, so you got cap time interval, cap limit, and then you got here default settings for GCI. The optimal intercept point calculation, which was shown on training or tutorial session 6, is documented here, and you can then hyperlink on this link here, or the default disengage radius, which is the topic of this tutorial, is then documented here. And the radius is to disengage any target when the distance of the defender to the home base is larger than the specified meters. The default disengage radius is 100 kilometers, and note that the disengage radius is applicable to all squadrons, so there is no specific disengage radius that can be set for one squadron specifically. If you want to know more about the method to configure or modify the disengage radius, you double click on this link here, and then you see some further info, the parameters, right? Number, by the way, means you just type in a number as a parameter between the brackets, so you can write 100,000 here, it's in meters, by the way, then that would mean 100 kilometers, and this is then explained here in the examples. So this would be 50 kilometers, this would be 100 kilometers. And I encourage you to play a little bit with these parameters, because you will see that changing them will react in different behavior, or will increase or even make your defense system much better. Yeah, it's upon your preferences. And then before I forget, let me open the script here. And when you see the script, I haven't really, set any specific disengage radius, because the default is 100 kilometers, so that will be automatically set. But I can easily, set another disengage radius, for example, air-to-air, control space, dispatcher, double point, set disengage radius, here he is. And now I can go here and set, for example, 150, remember it's meters, so 1, 2, 3. Here you go, and that's it. So that then you can then, plug back into your mission here. Right, save, and fly again. So now we're going to try what 150 kilometers would do. Right, I'm going to speed up a bit, so we'll see the same scenario, spawning from Gelendzig. There he goes. Is he going to catch up? No, but he is keeping a longer time, and he's flying back. Right? So that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you next time. Bye bye.